Good afternoon and welcome to today's episode of the PivotCast. I'm your host, Sarah the Pivoter. Here on the PivotCast, I interview super rad humans from around the world doing rad things in all walks of life. This is a platform to share their voice and bring value to you. So in this live interview, we're going to be hearing some super rad ideas from the amazing Samantha Grider. She and I connected recently over our previous corporate lives and being very high-performing type A females and being a little bit disconnected in our journeys through that. So she's going to give us the DL on some simple steps for taking aligned action that feels great while we still get the shit that we want to get done so we can pivot towards our vision and have a strong relationship with ourselves without burning out. So what we're going to be doing is doing some simple strategies, and I'm going to bring Samantha on. She's a high performance coach for women, and she helps women get more out of their life and their business. Women who are held back by self-doubt and that overwhelm feeling like the wheels are just spinning, stuck in the mud, right? You guys have heard me talk a lot about this. You can see where this energy is. She helps them to break through their blocks and show up fully. So without further ado, I'm going to bring the amazing Samantha on with us. Welcome, Samantha. Nice
Good
to
afternoon. Oh, it's really good to be in your company again, too. I love our dynamic.
I know, I love the energy that you have and that you bring to the table. And I love that you talk about showing up fully, because one of the things we were just speaking about before we started is how, we had this really high-powered career for 15 years in these different spaces. You were in hospitality. I was in, the business aviation space. But we were so focused on the work and the driving, and that was the doorbell, yes, but someone else will do it. We were so focused on the work and the driving that we didn't have a relationship with ourselves. And so we had some demons and some things to uncover. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
The guts and the glory. I love how you put that, because, it is really like this evolving and uncovering and learning. And high performance I love talking about high performance, especially with women of your caliber who do understand that how we can wear many hats as women and enjoy wearing all of those hats. So I'm really excited for our chat today.
Yeah, thank you. Amazing. And you know what? I think that's the thing is we can enjoy wearing those different hats, but we don't have to wear all of them all at one time. And I know that you've done a lot within the realms of psychology, and you've done the housework and the cooking and studying different things, but none of them was as satisfying to you as having this career. But yet for women, there's this intense pressure of doing it all and having it all. But we don't really need to even want that, right? So what would you say to women out there that are feeling that pressure to just do all the things?
Yes, I first and foremost would ask them, do you really want that? Because what I found in my journey through all my years, I started easing out of 9-to-5 life, a 9-to-5 mentality with like an MLM, and I didn't even realize that I could call my own shots, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I want to ask women, like, is that actually what you want? Because I started off in MLM and health coaching, and I was chasing other people's incentives, drivers. I was chasing going up ranks when money isn't something that really excites me. Relating and seeing growth is like what I'm like, yeah, let's go. Right? So that's where that's where I would definitely start off. As a coach myself, I try to bring as many questions as I can to the plate. I try to bring more questions than I do answers, because it feels like it's my job to help other women to navigate their journey, not walk it for them. Because I don't want someone to walk mine either.
Right. And we need to allow our clients to have their own experience. We can give them tools and direct them. One of my mentors used to say, like, here's the road. And when you kind of get off the road, there's that bumpy bit, right, to alert you, hey, you're going off track. That's what I'm here for. And I'm just going to bump you back a little bit and guide you this way, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do it. And I thought that was a really great analogy, because there are so many ways to get down that road. it's really up to us to decide, are we going to, do a lot of zigzagging? Are we just going to stop for a while and enjoy the scenery? Do we go off on this detour over here? But ultimately those questions, asking those powerful questions of ourselves, help us to get better at understanding. And that awareness is key for change and transformation, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. For being able to pivot through life and show up and be high performance. High performance is for every Joe Schmo and Betty Sue and all the housewives, and like you don't have to. I always like to what is that, like, debunk high performance, because it's like it's not about like pumping iron and like right.
Arnold.
I just think of him. But it's not about like doing all the things all day and working 18 hours. It's right. High performance is about getting the most out of your life, showing up fully for your life, and for me over here, doing it for my life and showing up in my life. It's
I love that you're redefining this term high performance, because a lot of people really look at high performance as this like, oh, it's a hustle culture. It means I have to be busy, busy, busy.
Right.
I'm always on top of things. So I'm always on call, like never stop. And yet we can redefine that so that it's not all the time, but when you're on, you're showing up fully and you're fully present in whatever it is that you're doing. So that, as you say, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, you're a housewife, you're that badass CEO, whether you're male or female, high performance gets to mean whatever you want it to mean.
Exactly. And it helps us to be able to, we've kind of touched on this a couple of times. It helps us to be able to tap into all the aspects of ourselves, both the feminine and the masculine there, so that we're able to, for lack of a better term, grind and go and hustle, and also stop and consider and wonder and expand. And all these good things about being female and feminine and having flow, as well as hard drive and go.
Exactly. And I think that's a really beautiful point, because, I mean, look, I'm wearing like black and you've got the color, but then you've also got a suit and I've got a t-shirt. So like we've got a bit of masculine and feminine at the same time, but in just different expressions. And I used it, your jacket as well, your blazer really reminds me of this analogy I used the other day where, it's like having a paint by numbers. Ooh. So you've got the number that goes in the space and you do that. And maybe the first time you do it, it's quite blocky between the colors. But then you go back and you take that paintbrush and you get it wet again and you blur those lines between the two so you can blend and have a seamless transition between the colors. And then that's what goes from being a very basic kind of painting experience to this looks more like art, right? And I think that's everything in life, right? We learn, even being a doctor, we learn from a textbook. And then as you get that skill, you can make it an art form and you've got your own methods and your own flow. And it becomes that effortless grace that we often see. But so many of us are in the hurry to have it right now. So we don't have the patience to get there. So what would some strategies be to help people in this space? Because usually high performers are ambitious and they're not patient.
Oh no, none of us are. And one of the things I love to dive into in my programs is personality and understanding like, wait, why the heck am I such a beast sometimes?
Yeah. What kind of personality assessments do you use?
In my program, my foundational program, I keep it super simple. And so we do the 4 personality types: phlegmatic, choleric, sanguine, melancholy is the other one. So red, green, blue, yellow. There's so many different kinds. So we kind of touch on a little bit, but we really focus on that because it's very easy to look at our strengths and weaknesses there and understand ourselves on another level. It's coming back to one of my favorite things is being able to talk better with ourselves. But I digress.
No, there's so many out there. And I think, I've used like enneagrams, I've used DISC. I mean, You can even go like things like human design, right? There's all these
Yes.
different aspects, and no matter what kind of spectrum you're on in terms of where you're going, Myers-Briggs, all of these things are really just that foundation to give you a little bit of insight into how you tick. And I think what's really important here, as well as it also then helps highlight how others tick. And
Exactly.
everything is about relating to other people, places, ideas. So understanding this bit gives you that awareness to be able to slow down and go, hey, this person's not like me.
Yeah. And how can I be able to navigate with them to move forward or move around or whatever it
Yeah.
is? Even things like tarot and like crystals and things like that, they all have some benefit of, like you said, understanding ourselves and others
Yeah.
around us.
And I think in like bringing up these kind of what people say are woo things, understanding how that is implemented by somebody else, how that impacts them, can also be something that you can use. So instead of just discounting it and then labeling this person as woo-woo or off their rocker or whatever you might term it, understanding what does that mean for them. And so under this now allows you to see what's important for them.
Yeah.
And one of the things for drivers, not all drivers are motivated by money. The ones that are, they do great with KPIs. They do great with sales. MLM is their jam, right? They're killing
Right.
the people who are drivers but don't get that satisfaction. Like you mentioned, for you, it's relating and connection, seeing that growth. That's not going to do very much except make us go, whatever. And we're going to dig our heels in and focus on something over here and then be frustrated. And so will the other party. And so I think all of this is really just the more you understand yourself, the more not only can you choose the right things, but you can communicate this to other people.
Yes, I love it. I love it. Oh, I'm so all about it. That's the epitome of high performance in my definition. I, that
So give us your definition of high performance.
it's my definition is, like I said earlier, showing up fully for your life and whatever you want to do, really kind of like turning the notch up on your life.
Amazing. I'm going to just put that up on the screen for people because I think that's really good. One of the things that I talk about as well is this concept of success. Now, traditionally, people, money and power, right? And so having the title, having the salary, having the awards, these are the things high performers are usually chasing. And then they get to the top and they kind of look around and go, oh, what? They're either really disappointed because it's not what they expected, or they're really lonely, or they realize they're not at the top. There's still more to go, and then they're exhausted.
Wait, there's more.
There's always more.
Yes. So I'll share with you what I call 5 habits that we don't actually even realize we're already doing. Okay. However, we can tap into these even more so and be able to have that better self-communication and better showing up. And so we are doing things like manifesting and attracting the things that we want and not feeling burnt out by life. And like you said there, we get to our goal and like, oh, I'm not even to the glass ceiling yet. We don't want that. So the first thing when it comes to all of this is envisioning for yourself. High performance, a key to high performance for myself and for my clients is envisioning, really having a solid vision moving forward. And it's called so many different things. Somebody asked me recently of like, what is your life story moving forward? And I was like, whoa, what do you mean? And really they were just like, so how have you detailed your vision moving forward? And so it's not just, oh, I want 10K by 2025.
Right.
It's how do I want to feel? What will it look like? How will I see myself logging into my computer, into my bank account? Will I see that, envisioning what it would look like, feeling the computer keys under your fingers and getting into a serious vision of what it will look like in the future, what it will feel like. See,
Yeah.
the thing about envisioning is it's having solid feelings. So there's a vision, which is great, solid steps forward, 10K in 20 days or whatever. And then there's envisioning, where we're stepping into and embodying. It's, excuse me, it's like doing a hypnosis or taking time to meditate on your future. It's simple little things that we can do throughout our day. I love starting off my day with a couple of, I guess you might call them affirmations or something like that. And then it's really putting that out there in my brain, because what's cool about brains, as you probably know, Sarah, is that they don't realize the difference between reality and our dreams. So as we keep putting our dream in front of us more tangibly, more brightly, we'll use that, it really comes into fruition much more easily. And that's where we get this feeling of like manifestation.
Because we're choosing actions that are aligned with helping us get there. That's why coaches talk about vision boards and having it up on your walls, so that when you're in that moment of like, oh, I don't want to do this, you look up and you see the things that why are you doing, right? It ties you back to the why. And I love that you brought this up with the feeling, because what do Olympic athletes do before they go out and they perform, right? They see themselves getting the gold. And then that is what enables them to do the things they need to. And if you don't know what it's going to feel like when you're winning, when you're having that high performance, when you're successful or fulfilled, how will you know when it happens, right? It's quite basic, but most of us skip that step. Although we're so busy looking at, I've got this like here, so I use it all the time. We're so busy looking at this donut and going, oh my God, there's something missing. Why did you give me a partial donut? But I mean, if I handed you a donut right now, you'd be like, thanks, this is exciting. This is delicious, right? You wouldn't be like, Sarah, there's a hole in it. Why'd you give me this? But yet we do that all the time with the things that we achieve. And we, and we account our success to external things, and we account our failures or perceived failures to internal problems.
Mm-hmm. And the beliefs that we can carry with us too. I'm a recovering people pleaser and perfectionist myself. And honestly, for so long, it was that like, what am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? Whatever you want, Samantha. It's your life.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah. Blown. I have people saying to me, especially the last 4 months, I've been this nomad. I left Hong Kong with the intention of going back, and I'm now not, and going to be digitally nomadic for a while. So many people say, oh, I wish I could do what you're doing. I'm like, you can. You get to choose, but you have to choose it, right? And yes, that means maybe giving up something else that you have. But if you really want it, you're willing to do the actions. And I think that willingness is part of it. So many of us, I did a story about this earlier today. We think we want something, but actually we're not willing to do what it takes to get there. So then it's just this surface level fluff. And that's why we are still learning French after 20 years, or why we're still learning to play the guitar. Like I literally bought a guitar and it was in the corner of my room. I could play like one chord. And finally one day I just took responsibility for it. So I was like, oh, can you play anything yet? I'm like, no, I haven't made it a responsibility, or, it's not been a priority. So it's my decoration now for my home. An aesthetic.
Great. I have a ukulele aesthetic.
It's beautiful. And then when other people who can play it come over, I can be serenaded with beautiful music.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. See, there we go.
Making a note.
Gotta find someone who can play the ukulele now.
I love what you pointed out there too, of how our brains are so amazing. I nerd out on brains, and
neuroscience is what we bonded on last time too.
Yes. And it's so interesting and amazing, for lack of better terms, that when we're in a moment of like, oh crap, shit's hitting the fan, I'm not really happy with my boss, or the workload's not so great, or I'm not finding clients, it's so easy for us to find, oh, I'd like to take up the ukulele now. Oh, look, there happens to be a cool meditation every evening at 5 that I need to go to suddenly. What?
Yes. Oh, when I was doing my MBA, all of a sudden I was uber productive at work, or my house was super clean.
Yes.
And then when I did my MBA project, and it was something that I had to do at work that I didn't really want to do, all of a sudden my MBA was like really focused. And that was all done. And so, yeah, we're real good at that shiny object syndrome. And then we say things like, oh, I work well under pressure, or, this is now my new priority. And so we're using the things that we're hearing and learning from coaches, but we're twisting it to suit our own bias, right? And that's because we're not very clear on exactly what it is that we want, and we don't envision that end result yet, and how that becoming of the end result is something we're wanting now. And then when we can make that switch, that's when all of a sudden we feel that success with the progress rather than just with the thing at the end.
Yes, exactly. Oh, and you led perfectly into my second habit, which is to enlist. And it's getting people involved, like a coach, like the people around you, your loved ones, your family, your friends, your silent stalkers on, I work with a lot of coaches and stuff, but think about your silent stalkers. People do watch us, and it's social media for a reason. And so enlisting people to be relatable, connect with your community, connect with people, and let them know what you're doing, because in order to express ourselves better, we want to practice. Like the silly old saying, practice makes perfect. Well, really, no, practice just makes practice, and you keep going.
Practice gives you progress, and you won't know how you feel until you do it. And guess what? Every time you do a thing, you're going to feel a feeling. And then that feeling, you're going to give a judgment, and you're going to label it as either positive or negative. And in different moments, you might label it differently depending on your mood and the scenario, etc. Right. So just understanding that for yourself, it's like, think of it as a big science experiment. Usually high-performing people are very logical and like type A, and they want data. Well, this is just data gathering. And so I love that. And having the people around you, I call this your SAS, your semi-automatic support system. So if you then can communicate what you want, and you've got the people around you on your team, you're semi-automatically getting the things you need fulfilled without too much effort. And that makes it easier when you go into those like low motivation states.
Exactly. Keeping it, because you're right. Like, nobody's motivated every day. And so why not be able to like store some or borrow some or all these things to be able to stay motivated? That hot word.
Exactly.
And it's really easy to involve people. If you have kiddos in the house, let them know what's going on. Hey, I'm going on some meetings today. I'm going to chat with some dope people.
Yeah. I think the best thing you can do when you're working with a coach, or you're on this journey of self-improvement, is to tell others what you're doing. Like some people are like, oh, work in silence and surprise everyone. It's like, no, that's a strategy to hide. Yes. If you're working in silence, then that's a strategy that's going to mean that you don't feel comfortable asking for help. You're hiding because you're afraid if it doesn't work, what are people going to say? When you tell people and you make it public, you're also more motivated to do the thing, right?
Exactly.
All right, what's number 3?
All right. So number 3 is embodying. So embodying is standing for something. It's all about putting it, kind of similar to number 1, where we're putting on this attitude and embodying who we want to be. It's this congruence of walking our talk. Yeah. So like you were saying earlier, we can be nomads as well if we want to, by making those choices, making those hot word sacrifices to be the people that we are inside. We have this thought, and so we can embody that person. And embodying looks like putting on a coat, a blazer,
Right.
or putting on makeup, or doing your hair, or putting on shoes. I recommend for anybody who's doing a lot of video stuff, if it's a really like sales calls or something important to you, client calls, put some shoes on, put your fancy shoes on. Who cares? You're not even walking in them. So
Yeah.
they hurt,
Dress up, right? And I always say, like, think about little kids. They put on that Spider-Man costume or like the Little Mermaid costume, and all of a sudden they're like transformed into this character. And we see it all the time. And I mean, I used to think that like my high heels were my power shoes. But now they're my Vans. So
Yes.
it's like, what is it for you? It could be an object, your watch, a certain necklace, something that's going to be like, yeah, I'm in my element. I'm in my power. And as soon as you put it on, you can transform into that energetic space and be the person that you can be, rather than, if you just stay in your pajamas, well, then you're in relax mode. You're not in the mode to connect or at a sales call level, for example, or deliver content. You're just in a mood to chill and be with your, intimate, close family members.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's similar to like we were talking about earlier, where we're mentally rehearsing. So if we've already envisioned really well, when we can put on those things, we're almost mentally rehearsing that whatever it is we're doing, sales call. You made me think of like Beyonce. She's got her alter ego, I think, of Sasha Fierce. Yes.
Exactly. And I think that's beautiful for women as well. It's like, think of Wonder Woman or think of, Superman. Like, who is it underneath? When you wear that, whether you're a man or a woman, whatever pronouns you use, when you've got that really nice lingerie or underwear on, you act differently than if you've got the frumpy stuff on, right?
Right.
There's just something different about it because you've got this little secret for yourself of what's going on. So what is it for you that's going to allow you to bring the alter ego, as I like to say, the inner rebel, and let it out a little bit? You don't have to like toss her out into the wild and be like, okay, go fend for yourself. It can be a slow, gradual thing, right? We're not shocking the system here, but how do we do that a little bit more each day?
Yes. Oh, and that leads me perfectly right into our this is our fourth
or something.
I know, this is really good.
Our on the same connection.
So this should be number 4 if I'm counting correctly. Cool. Yeah. So, and it's empowering ourselves. It's similar to like being the Sasha Fierces. It's empowering ourselves. A lot of us are really good at pumping others up. Like, no, man, you got it. We can see it. We can see others' success easier for them. So how can we learn how to pump ourselves up? Really get into that. And it's setting ourselves up for success. That cliche kind of saying, but it's like, our teachers in school, when we're little tiny tots, they don't go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, you got it, right? Okay, we're moving on. We're done. They're like, okay, let's sit with A. Let's understand A. Let's understand B. And that's what empowerment does for us. It helps us to have this inevitable success because we've empowered ourselves each day, and it does take time to figure out what empowers ourselves. Like with all of these things, we want to try them on and see if it fits. It's not
like a piece of clothing, right? Does this fit for me? Is this the style that I want? And understanding that that's going to change. I mean, like, look, the 70s look is coming back, which I love. I'm like all into the mustard yellow and, these high-waisted pants and stuff. But these things are going to cycle and change. And as you grow and evolve, you're going to do different things. And so that's okay. And that's part of being an agile action taker, of being high performing, right? Because you're moving so fast usually when you're a high performer that you are going to need to change. You're at the front of the pack. You're in whatever field you're in, you're one of those early adopters. So if you're not aware of what's going on, then you're going to slip. And that's where that frustration, I think, comes in, because people want it to stay the same and
Right.
they're not wanting it to change.
Right. And empowerment isn't about being same all the time either. It's about, like you're saying, riding those waves, riding the cycles, leaning into the femininity of life and the moon, and understanding how can I show up more fully for this day, for this moment. It's
Exactly. It's that
even,
nuance.
yeah, even learning just to stop and take a breath and be like, okay, now I can take my day or do this thing or whatever.
Yeah. And one of the best ways to get started with that, I find, is these little devilish devices. Don't charge it in the bedroom, and don't use it as your alarm clock. Because if you are, then what's going to happen is you're going to open your eyeballs and go, oh my God, there's 50 alarm bells, right? The house is burning down, and you don't need that first thing. So set up your system for success. Embody the type of person you want to be and how you want to feel. You want to feel calm, and you want to feel that you have this space for yourself. Just charge your phone in the other room and take 15 minutes to just do your own thing in your own energy, brush your teeth, look out the window, snuggle with your partner, whatever it is.
Exactly. Ease into the day rather than
It gets
go.
to be easy. It doesn't have to be difficult.
Exactly. Oh, yes, that choice right there. Ooh.
All right, so number 5.
All right, let's round us up. Number 5 is to evaluate. The high performance secret trick or habit is to evaluate ourselves. And the key to evaluation is getting our emotions out. As a emotional feeler and melancholy type person, so I love all the details and I'm very feeling oriented, even though I won't always admit it. We want to get those feelings out because they're great. They help us to pivot and move and understand ourselves in life. However, evaluation is simply as what went well, what didn't go well, what do I want better.
We like to use the WWW and WCBI. So that's what worked well and what could be improved.
Yes, exactly. I love that. I like to say, what was shit? What wasn't so shitty?
And that's the thing, right? Just tying back to what we were talking about before with the science experiment. That's all it is, right? Exactly. This is not evaluation to judge or to demonize what you've done and be like, oh my God, that was terrible. It's just to understand, hey, I didn't really like how that felt. Okay, I want to feel this thing. What gets me to that feeling? Rather than wallowing and staying stuck in this cycle of, oh my God, I did the wrong thing. And this, we just get that data and we collect it. We change something, we turn the dial, all of a sudden, now we've got that clear answer rather than this like, that didn't feel so good.
Right. I think that's why, or one of the many reasons, how we can get stuck in these scroll holes. Yeah. It starts with this evaluation part of like, ooh, I do want to start DIYing my house. So I'm scrolling to get ideas. Well, next thing, all my feelings come in of like, oh, this is really expensive, or, oh, I don't have a house like that, or, oh, whatever, all the things. And we get, like you said, stuck in this. And so getting those feelings out and really evaluating on that scientific learning, curious cat kind of way. And and it's like you talk about being able to pivot. We're awesome. We got here for a reason all those crazy years back there. And so we can be grateful and learn from that and say, okay, what small pivot can I make today? Rather than I need to change who I am to be a better person.
Yeah. It's not about like this radical 180 or this, this is why New Year's resolutions fail of, oh, I'm going to be vegan and I'm going to go to the gym 10 times a week and, all these things. It's what's that little dial shift? What's the thing you're going to do consistently? And then that morphs and evolves, you layer it on from there. And speaking of the micro pivots, like when you wake up in the morning, you're somebody's partner, and then you're a mother, and then you're a friend, and then a sister, and then a boss, and then a business owner, and then a buyer. So you're already pivoting every single moment of the day. All we need to do is remember that, and then that can help us when we go through some of the bigger transitions. If we get that solid foundation on the small shifts, then when the big shifts happen, we know that we've got the tools, right? As you say, we've evaluated enough and we're empowered to go, this is the thing that I'm going to need today and this for this situation.
Yes, exactly. And it's super simple. It doesn't have to be this like uh, audit of your life, of evaluation of, like we're talking about simple as we go through our day, or having a calendar up, or little things that suit whatever lifestyle you choose.
Absolutely. And remembering that, again, it's your choice. It's not other people's. And so everyone's going to have an opinion about the things that you do, but it's not identifying with that, or not even your own emotions. You are not your emotions. You do feel them, but that doesn't mean you are them. So how can you step out of that? One of the things my coach in Australia taught me was to say things like, I'm doing overwhelm right now.
Yes.
That interrupts the brain from identifying with I'm overwhelmed and making it my state. Where if I say I'm doing overwhelm, my brain can go, oh, this is a choice. I'm actively doing it. I don't want to do it. How do I get to calm? And then I'm going to do calm. And then that's how we can shift things.
Aren't the minds so cool? It's like, oh, it just makes me so excited.
This is the Jedi status, right? This is mastering the Force so that we can, no matter what the dark alluring forces over there are, we are not pulled by it, right? We can stay in our center.
Yes, exactly. And in a way, be able to utilize that to, like we were talking about earlier, by understanding the dark side and others around us, we're able to navigate with them too. Yes. We're centered and in our Jedi mind state and at one with ourselves, able to communicate and navigate well. And so we're like, oh, come on, I'll join the dark side for a minute, have some cookies. Yeah. I'll be right back. I know who I am.
We can meet at the boundary line. We can have our tea and coffee, but at the end of the day, we go back to our respective centers, right? And that's fine. And I think that's another thing, speaking about boundaries before we wrap up, is I know you work a lot with your clients on this. It's understanding your boundary is not my boundary. And I think that's a really powerful thing, because when we start to work with boundaries, we often then we think everyone has our boundaries. And then by pulling them into our new boundary space, we might be violating theirs, right? So we have to understand that too.
Right, exactly. Being able to, it reminds me of what my coaches really like mind blew me with, of that age old saying of treat others how you want to be treated. Yeah. Well, no, that's rude. Treat others the way they want to be treated.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Right. Because the way that you may want to be treated may not be what is somebody else's cup of tea. They might be like horrified that that's what you want, right? Maybe delightfully horrified, but nonetheless, understanding what it is to be able to meet somebody else's boundary line without violating your own is a really important skill set to start to develop.
Oh, yes. All of it, all the way around. That communication is key in my book.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Samantha, this has been an amazing conversation. I feel like we could do this for hours. So yes. We'll have to definitely schedule another one. But for those of you who are looking for a coach to help you in this area, how can people find you, Samantha, if they want to learn more about how to work with you?
Oh, yes. I'm all over Facebook, Samantha Greider. You can find me here. And I feel free to join my free Facebook group, High Performance Coaching for Women. Reach out, DM me. I'm on Facebook all the time. That's where I tend to be. I am on Instagram a little bit, however, mostly on Facebook. And I'm happy to chat at any time. I do have complimentary clarity calls and just like to chat, because like my name means the listener, I learned. And it made so much sense. I was like, oh, no wonder I like just listening to stories of like, where did you come from? Right. And so, yeah, just come on down and let's chat and figure some stuff out and get more out of our lives. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I mean, and that's how we connected too. So for those of you watching, this video is going to be posted on Facebook in my group. Samantha is tagged in there. And then Samantha, if you want to drop the link for your group so people can easily find it, that'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And then it'll also be on LinkedIn and my YouTube channel. So wherever you guys are watching this from, please do navigate over and connect with Samantha. She's super rad. She's got a lot of fun things going on. And you know what, I'd just like to remind you guys, if you have questions, you can always comment. We don't stop the live after the live is finished. We can still communicate with you guys. It's an open channel. And thank you so much for joining me today, Samantha. It's been a real pleasure to have you on here with us.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really grateful. Oh.
Yes, it's been my pleasure. And for those of you watching this back, we'd love if you commented, even if you don't have a question, what was your biggest takeaway? What's the next one thing that you're going to do for yourself? And just remember, real pivoters are human beings, just like me and you. So all it takes is the choice to do something different. Go out and choose something that's going to make you sparkle today and keep on keeping on. Thank you.